So, as we have seen that the Shang was defeated by the Zhou. The Zhou were defeated by the Qin. Now, let us look at the Qin Dynasty. So, the Qin Dynasty, it was there between 221 BC, 221 BC up to 206 AD. That was the Shin Dynasty. So it was founded by Shin Huang, which means the first emperor, So it was founded in 221 BC. So the Shin rulers, they attained power by force using their weapons. That is, they defeated the Zhou, as we have said. So they built their capital at Xiangyang or Yang on the Weihe River. So you can see the names there that we are now speaking Chinese now. You can pronounce them the way you can pronounce. They sound good when you pronounce them, because it is as if you are speaking Chinese. So what are the contributions of the Qin Dynasty? Number one is government still, or governance. They abolished feudalism. Remember the feudal system, which was also supported by the Zhou dynasty that we have just looked at. So they abolished that feudal system in the kingdom, and so he also divided the empire into military districts under the governors. So nobility was no longer the right by birth, but rather a military merit. So for someone to become a noble, it was to be those who were recognized in the military service. So this marked the beginning of the bureaucratic government now. So the empire was divided into 36 administrative units or districts governed jointly by the civil, military, and the supervisory official appointed by the central government. So that's how the districts were governed. And they replaced the local laws with a uniform legal system. So the local laws, they were abolished, and they put the uniform laws that were governing everywhere, that were applying everywhere. So they also introduced the philosophy of legalism. So this legalism, you have to understand it better. This one, it says that it is the belief which believed the legalism as a philosophy. It believed that human beings were evil and selfish. Therefore, they had to be controlled by strict laws imposed by the state. Because people are evil and selfish, they have to be imposed by strict laws by the state. So they completed the connection existing, or they completed connecting the existing walls to strengthen the security of the external, from the external attacks. That is, they went on building that. Another contribution of the Shin is the economy. So the Shins introduced the standardization of weights and the measures. So the scales that we use for measuring today, they were first standardized by the Shin Dynasty. So they also established a system of coinage, that is the use of the coins or money, and also the network of standardized highways and building the canals. So they did a lot of infrastructure developments as well. And again, Shin also set standard width for the axles for the carts and the other vehicles for easy passing on the roads and the bridges. So he standardized to say, all right, the width of the ox cart must be like this, or the tires must be like this. So they standardized all those things, or the ox carts. And again, it was the first dynasty to organize population census. So the Shin Dynasty was the first to organize population census. And trade expanded to most of the areas during the Shin dynasties. Just as we have said that they controlled all other states, and the rules that were formed, they were applying to each and every city-states that were under them. So you can really to say it, you can confirm to say that they were really the first, he was the first emperor. And as such, trade, he expanded trade into most of those areas, the Chinese city-states. And another contribution is the arts. They introduced one system of writing called the small seal script. The small seal script. So also they enforced legalism philosophy. So legalism philosophy was enforced to everyone to understand and follow the legalism, to say we have to follow strict rules that are there. And rulers were not allowing any criticism, hence they banned more work of philosophers which were critics. So other philosophies or other works from other thinkers, they were banned because they were taken as the critics. So all those that had contrary views, they were not allowed to exercise their writings or their views. So they spared books of magic, medicine, and farming only. So the books that were allowed were only the books of magic, medicine, and farming. Those were the books that the Qin Dynasty allowed to be there in their kingdom. So this was done to silence the critics. That's why they allowed few books. So scholars, they protested against that barbaric act, especially the banning of classic songs and the classic documents. All those they were banned. That is the classic documents. They were the documents like that were written maybe during the time of the Shang, the Zhou. All those, they were banned, to say no more this. We are only following the legalism philosophy here. And the books of magic and medicine and farming, they are the ones that we are going to follow, and nothing else. So also what happened was that about 460 scholars, they were executed by the Shi Wang, the emperor there. So the writers or the scholars, they were killed, to say you are advocating or advancing the philosophies that are contrary to what we want, so you are going to face death. So that's why we are saying any critic was faced by was punished, was put to death. And they also made the amazing tomb of the emperor, for the emperor. So this one, it was that outside that tomb was a life-sized army of clay soldiers discovered. It was something around 1974. That's when they discovered the clay of those soldiers. So this was known as the Terracotta Army, the Terracotta Army. So you can Google on the internet if you have that chance, to say Terracotta Army. So let us look at the decline of the Shin Dynasty, the Shin Dynasty. How did it come to an end? So number one, we are saying that it collapsed because of the heavy taxation or heavy labor on the peasants, and the lack of good policies by the government. So these were the factors, the major factors that contributed to the decline of the Shin Dynasty. They were taxing people heavily, and the labor again, people now and again going to construct the the war. So that one, it was not good, and even the policies were not good. And with that, then there were so many revolts in that empire during the Qin Dynasty. So due to the death of the emperor in 210 BC, then Liu Bang overthrew the Shin Dynasty in 206 BC and founded the Han Dynasty, which was accepted by the Chinese as having the mandate of heaven to say these people now, or Liu Bang is now has received the mandate of heaven to rule, and the Shin Dynasty now is over. So let us look at the Han Dynasty between 206 BC up to 220 AD. So it was a long period that also the Han Dynasty ruled China. So Liu was a good leader. Liu Bang, he was a good leader because he controlled his generals very well. So he was a gifted leader, Liu Bang. And also he had the interest in the peasants since he was also a peasant at first. So he established his base in the Wei River Valley. So his base or his headquarters was in the Wei River Valley. So we are saying that he had special interest in the peasants. The peasants, he liked the peasants so much. Unlike the previous Shin dynasty, that one disregarded the peasants, and they were just forsaken to do other things, or maybe just uh, sent to construct the war there. So his dynasty derived its name from Han River, which means heavenly river. Heavenly river. So, like the Zhou dynasty, the Han also was divided into West Han, which was there between 202 to 8 AD, and the Eastern Han, which was there between 25 BC and 220 AD. So the Han culture defines the Chinese culture today. So the Chinese claim Han as their ethnic background. So today, now, what are the contributions of the Han Dynasty? Number one, we look at government. So Wu Di was there between 140 and 87 BC was the famous Han Emperor was the famous Han Emperor, and he developed the government structure by successive or and adopted by successive emperors in the dynasty and beyond. So we are saying that this Wu Di, he started something that even the subsequent or the coming emperors, the emperors who came after him, they also were just following. So the Han rulers, they used the centralized system of government set by the Shin, but without harshness. So they copied much from the Shin dynasty, but the difference was that the Han were not harsh in the running of their government. So Wu Di, that is this most famous emperor, supervised all the government aspects. All aspects of government, all departments were supervised by this Wu Di. So he established the civil service based on merit and talent. So he was employing people in the government who were talented and who were so skillful. And his civil servants collected the revenue. They also handled domestic and issues and also defense matters. So the civil servants attended the interviews to get the so entrance examinations, that is the interview for the civil service, was administered during the reign of Wu Di, that is around 130 BC. So that's when they started to conduct the interviews. and they tested the Shin's classic of law and literature. So usually they were testing the previous literature to see if they were tangible. So best scholars were also admitted in the public sector. So the best scholars, they were also admitted. They were admitted in the public places to say those who were more intelligent, more skillful, things like those, they were admitted in the public places. And also the poor, they were employed after doing well in examinations. So the poor were not just employed just because they were poor, no, but after they showed that they can do something, they can assist the government. And the educated were also respected. The educated were respected, and a new class of the educated civil servants called the Mandarins, they emerged. So these Mandarins, they controlled the government up to around 1990s, when they were more respected, the educated people. So there was a strong army under the control of the emperor. So the emperor established the very, very strong army. So the Han's rulers expanded the Great Wars of China. So the Great War still more continued to expand the Great War. So now on education, as another contribution of the Han Dynasty, many Chinese, they went to school to get educated uh, in order to get employed and respected. So as we have said, education was emphasized. As you can see that even those people who were assisting the emperor were sent to university to learn how to govern well, how to assist the emperor so that the government goes on well. So education was the order of the day. So many Chinese, they were going to school in order to get employment and be respected. Remember the Mandarins, they were the respected people who were running the government. They were given positions in the government. So Chang'an and Longyang became the important cultural centers. So the cities, the capital cities of Luoyang and Chang'an, they became the cultural centers as well. So it had the best scholars and writers from all over China. So scholars and writers, they gathered in those capital cities. So the empire grew with flourishing intellectual, literary, and artistic endeavors. So we see to it that the empire, or the empire itself, it was flourishing with the intellectual literature as well as arts. So it was like growing rapidly. That is the Han Empire. And another contribution is the writing. So they developed a vigorous prose style exemplified in historical writings of Su Shen in 85 BC, and Pan Ku of between 32 and 32 BC up to 92 AD. Then lexicography led to the compilation of Shu Wen explanation of writing around 100 AD. So lexicography, there it was the compilation of other writings there. So the new form of literature, especially history, poetry, and diaries, were developed in this period. So you see to it that there was a compilation of the writings of people. As a result, literature, especially we talk of history, the diaries, and many other things, they were compiled and they were kept maybe in libraries, things like those. And also another contribution was the technological advancement. So the Han, they invented the paper and the proto-porcelain, the crude seismograph, and other powered, water-powered mill, and the water-powered mill. Others also, they also invented the sundial for measuring the movement time using the sun. Economy is another contribution of the Han. So Wu Ti pursued economy. That is the leader there, the emperor. Pursued the economy of leveling, whereby during the good harvest, the government agents would buy and store the surplus to control the price of the product. And in poor harvest, the surplus produce that had been brought and stored, they were sold to prevent food shortages and rise in the prices. So in so doing, they were preventing the inflation. So that is not strange, because even in most of the countries they do that. Maybe during the time of harvest, you find that the government is providing money, maybe to add money to buy food from the people, so that when the food becomes scarce, then they are going to sell to the people. The major aim is to prevent inflation, whereby the buying power of money will not be there. People will use a lot of money to buy few things. That is inflation, when the value of money goes down. So trade was expanded from China across Central Asia to the Mediterranean region. So trading items, they include the silk, the jade, and other Chinese goods. So in return, they were getting the glass, amber, asbestos, wool, and linen textiles. So the cities grew as shops were established. So in China, we see to it religious beliefs of the Chinese. So having looked at those dynasties, now let's look at the religious beliefs of the Chinese in general. That is, we look at in general now all the dynasties. What was there, or what were their religious beliefs? So polytheism was the order of the day. Polytheism is the worship of many gods. So they were worshipping many gods like the moon, the sun, and 5 planets. They were all worshipping those things. So they also praised the spirits. So their powerful god was Tien. So this one believed to punish the wicked and reward the good. So they believed that Tien was the most powerful god who rewarded those people who do good and uh, punished those people who are wicked. Animism was also there, so they believed that an all-powerful dragon found in the seas, rivers, and in the clouds. And when the dragon fought in heaven, they brought rain. So we talked about this to say when it thunders, to them they believe that the dragons are fighting up there in the sky. They are about to bring rain. So ancestral spirits was also there. So they respected the ancestors, the living elderly. The family was a link between the dead, and the living. So we see to it that they were respecting the ancestors, and even those people who they also believed that the rulers were representatives of heaven. So they believed that the gods chose the rulers and gave them the mandate to rule. We have been talking of the mandate of heaven, to say when when there was a ruler, they believed that he was ruling by the mandate of heaven. Hence, that mandate was to be withdrawn when that ruler was not good. So prayers were offered to the gods through the rulers and the nobles. So the rulers, because they ruled through the mandate of heaven, the prayers were prayed through them. And they also believed in the burning of the incense and playing music to the gods. So they believed that music brought the spirits and men into harmony together. They were joined in music. That is, the spirits and the people were joined in music, and they enabled it enabled people to enjoy God. So music enabled people to enjoy God. So music imitated the thunder and was pleasing to the Almighty. So their music, they imitated the thunder, to say they were playing those music with the drums so that they imitate something like the thunder, and therefore the gods would be pleased with the thunder. Now let's look at the contributions of the Chinese civilization to the world. We are just looking at the contributions of the dynasties to the growth of that particular civilization. But here, what were the contributions of the Chinese civilization in general to the world? Number one is technology. The seismology. Seismology is the scientific study of the earthquake. It was developed by the Chinese. The water-powered mill also started by them. The porcelain, the water clocks, the sundials, which helped to tell time by then. There were no digital clocks. They also discovered the dye which was used for dyeing the clothes, and also glazing pottery was also there. And again, writing was the other invention or contribution. So literary element of history, historical writing, they are there. And dynastic writing of history contributed to the study of forms, meaning, and behavior of words, which is called lexicology. So this one, they developed an original written language, the Chinese. So they also made writing an art called calligraphy. So there was an art of writing which was called calligraphy. Even up to now, people, they pursue calligraphy. And again, medicine. Medicine was another contribution. They did surgery. Recruitment on merit also, as we have said, that the Han Dynasty studied that one. So it was introduced in the hiring of educated people in public service. So even today, people, when they go, they are looking for employment, they are done on merit to say, do you qualify? Do you have the necessary papers like that? And invention of paper. They discovered the paper around 150 BC, and they also invented ink between 205 BC and 220 BC, 220 AD, 205 BC and 220 AD. There was the use of ink. So the control of flood. The large scale of water projects built along the river valleys. So they had a very, very big irrigation system. So water from the rivers was rechanneled and used it for irrigation. And also the defense system. They introduced the use of walls. So today we use the walls as the security fencing. You see many houses, they have the fences. Was emulated from the Chinese, who were building the walls as the security things. And also enhancement of soil fertility. They were applying the manure to the soil so that they enhance the soil fertility. Today, we also use the same. And standardization of measurement units. It helped in the advancement of commerce. Even today, the use of the scales started by the Chinese. And also music. Songs were sung both in both secular and religious functions. So just as it is today, songs are sung in both religious gatherings as well as secular gatherings. Literature is another contribution. their works are still read today. We were talking of the Art of War. It's a book written long time ago, but it is still there. And literature is still taught today in the world from the Chinese. And also Confucianism, Taoism, and Legalism are the philosophies that are also pursued and read in the world. So the idea of unifying two integral parts, that is the man and nature, began with the Chinese philosophy. So we talk of the major philosophies of the Chinese, that is Confucianism, Taoism, and Legalism. Still today, those people who study philosophy, they also study in those lines, along those lines, and their ideas are still even advanced today. They are still put into practice today in different societies. And the compass, they also invented the compass. They made the compass and used it for religious purposes in the fields of construction. So they were using the compass in uh, construction and in for religious purposes. So the silk clothing is another contribution of the Chinese. They started the technique of creating the clothes. Remember the silkworms that were tamed in order to produce silk, and they were producing cloth from that. So fans, kite, and many other things were made from the silk material. And also mathematics. The Chinese, they pioneered the use of abacus. Abacus, when we teach computer or we learn computer, we say the computer evolved from many things, and one of it is the abacus, because it is still in use today, but it was used for. So to this far, we have come to the end of the Chinese civilization. It has been a very long topic with very difficult names as well to pronounce or to understand them better. But I guess to this far, you have taken at least a few things that might enable you to understand more on the concept of the Chinese civilization. So just as the saying goes to say, if a repetition is the mother of good luck. So you have, if you have missed some of the concept, it's better that you go back and you retake the topic again. You retake the topic again. Then in so doing, you are going to construct, you are going to understand these things better. So in the same way, when you were in class, maybe the teacher taught you this topic, then you may neglect to say, already I understood this. No. For you to master most of these things, you have to redo. So that is, you are to the better part or to the advantage. The fact that you have this video, it means you can go back to the topic, no matter you listened it very well somewhere, but you retake it, you find that at the end of the day, you get something from it. The same applies to all other subjects, So repetition will make you to master these things. So now and again you repeat. When you study, you lose maybe focus, then get the video, listen to it, watch it. Now, the next topic is another wonderful topic, because now we come back to Africa. Remember, on this civilization, we started with the African civilization. That is, it was in Egypt. We started with Egypt, that is North Africa. Then we went to the other, to the European. Then we went to America. then we went to Asia. Did you notice that one? That we tackled almost 4 continents there, because we looked at African civilization, that was Egypt, and we looked at European civilization, that was the Greeks. Then we looked at the Aztec, that is in America. Then we have just looked at the Chinese, that is the Asia. Four civilizations from 4 continents. But now we come back home, that is Africa. So here we go to West Africa. Now we are going to look at kingdoms. These are not bigger civilizations, just as it was in Egypt or in Aztec or many others. No, these were just kingdoms or smaller civilizations. So we are going to look at the Western Africa. We'll start with West Africa, and we are going to look at Mali. So this Mali kingdom is one of the good topics that we are going to look at in as far as the kingdoms are concerned. So this one is there. So you know what? This one is already there again on the DVD. So all you can do is to get that phone call, request your